historical fact, folks. There has never been a presidential candidate come to the Bronx to campaign or do a rally. Just facts, folks. I love to see it. I'm glad that Trump is starting to beat the bushes in the right places, getting out the vote with the Latino and black community that needs to not just support Trump, but register to vote and show up to support Trump in November. You know what I'm talking about, folks. But what I really want to talk to y'all about today was something that's been going on for quite a while. It's a narrative going on the mainstream media. I'm talking like CNN, MSNBC News. Even people like Bill Maher have asked this question. I've seen people like George Stephanopoulos corner every Republican that he gets on his show with this particular question, or a couple of questions, and it's about contesting election results. They like to get a Republican on these shows and try to back him in the corner of, do you support the fake electors when there is an alternate elector? And, are you going to accept the results of the 2024 election under these particular scenarios, with no particular scenarios mentioned? Are you do you support Trump in his bid to overthrow the government because somehow or another he didn't voluntarily leave office? We've heard these narratives in the past, but it seems like more and more lately I've been seeing this main question come out. Are you going to accept the 2024 results no matter how they go if Trump loses, in theory? And Ted Cruz lets us, Caitlin Clark, I believe it's, or Caitlin Collins, not Clark. Clark is a basketball player, but that's another story altogether. But at any rate, Caitlin Collins has badgered Trump when he had an interview with her. He called her a nasty woman. I remember that interview well. But these left-wing pundits, these news commentators, don't seem to be able to do anything but badger conservatives when they come on their shows. They can't ask them hardball, real questions that they actually want to hear the answer to. Instead, they ask them questions they don't like the answer, so they cut them off or they overtalk them or they try to change the subject. It's almost a combative situation. And I'm sure they want a little bit of combativeness for the ratings' sakes, but it's really disrespectful. I wouldn't want to come on anybody's show, channel, platform, network to be insulted, lied to, and then not heard when I try to tell my side of it. It just doesn't seem like it's something that most of us would choose in life. But for the people that are getting out there and going on The View to tell the American people, the Karens of the world watching that garbage, that, you know what, everything you're hearing on this show is not the truth. This is their opinion. The truth is, Trump is not evil. Biden is a bad man. And our economy does suck because of Biden's policies and so many other things. So I'm glad to see people get out there and put it out there, just like Ted Cruz does right here on this clip. I'll interrupt it a few times just because it's 4 or 5 minutes long. But it's definitely shocking to see how bad people get treated just trying to put the truth out there. And that's my point of bringing this video to y'all today, folks. But listen to how this lady treats him. But he lets her have it right back.
To the votes. Mm-hmm. In 2024, will you certify the election results? Do you plan to object, or will you accept the results regardless of who wins the election?
So Caitlin, I got to say, I think that's actually a ridiculous question.
It's a yes or no question, though.
No, it's not. No. Let me explain why it's a ridiculous question. It's not a question. You've ever asked a Democrat that?
Of course.
What Democrat?
But what Democrats?
But hold on a second. What Democrats challenge it?
What Democrats? I know. I've been down this road many times. But no Democrat. You cannot compare the two situations. We have talked about that. We've seen the audio of that when they protested on the Senate floor.
But hold on a second.
But has you ever had a sitting president who refused to facilitate the peaceful transition of power, refused to acknowledge that his successor won the presidency?
Trump did not refused to leave the White House. He did say the election was soured and foul, and we all believe that to be true at this point. Anybody with a brain at this point that is paying any kind of attention to the facts of the matter, seeing how the censorship happen in order to suppress information as that. Usually when information is censored, it's because it's the truth and somebody's trying to hide something. And that's the facts, folks. All right, we'll get right back into it, but he's fixing to let her have it with the truth.
So, A, we did have a peaceful transfer of power. I was there on January 20th. I was there on the swearing in.
Barely.
B, if you look at in 2000, Democrats went to the Senate, or 2001, Democrats went to the Senate floor and objected to George W. Bush. In 2004, they went and objected.
And what did the president do?
In 2016, Democrats went and objected to Donald Trump. And so... Look,
and what happened in 2016? Because I remember a guy named Joe Biden was vice president, and he went to the Senate floor and certified the votes.
So do you want...
Am I wrong?
So you're asking, will you promise no matter what to agree an election is illegitimate regardless of what happens? And that would be an absurd thing to claim. Like, we have an entire election law system that people challenge elections. Elections get overturned. Voter fraud gets proven. That happens all the time. And the media engages in this weird game post Donald Trump that you insist no voter fraud has ever existed. Why does every state have laws in place to challenge voter fraud if it occurs?
Good question. Good question. And she's going to throw this narrative right back at him. You watch this, not enough voter fraud to overturn the results. That's that catchphrase they use. That's all they got because they know it's happening.
Why do you have election challenges?
This isn't a game. There was no widespread voter fraud.
You only ask Republicans that. Because
it was Republicans who tried to block the transition of power. You have to acknowledge that. So we've never seen it on a scale of what happened in 2020, and we've never seen the president refuse. He wouldn't even let Joe Biden get classified briefings at the beginning. I recall that. So my question for you again, free and fair election, will you accept the results regardless of who wins?
Look, if the Democrats win, I will accept the result, but I'm not going to ignore fraud regardless of what happens.
Was there fraud in 2020?
Of course there was fraud in 2020.
No, there wasn't, and you still objected.
Oh, you know for a fact there was zero voter fraud. Really? What's your basis for that? Show me your evidence.
We've spoken with Governor Kemp. They did 3 hand recounts in the state of Georgia. The director
I've spoken with people that know. That's her answer. Wow.
of CISA said that it was the safest, most legitimate election.
So, but you're saying zero voter fraud occurred. That's what you just said.
Nothing that would have changed the outcome of that
Okay, but that's
election.
a different statement.
There you go.
No, it's not. Because
yes,
if it wouldn't
is.
have changed
You said there was no voter fraud.
There was no voter fraud that would have changed the outcome of the election, and you know that, Senator.
So what I know is that what I stood on the Senate floor and objected, what I called for, I'll tell you, I wrestled with what to do in that circumstance. And the reason I wrestled with it is because I think there was significant voter fraud in 2020. And
you wanted the 10-day commission, I know, but was there voter fraud that would have changed the outcome of the election?
But you know why I wanted a 10-day commission? Because I tried to look, I'm a Supreme Court litigator. I argue cases in front of the Supreme Court.
I know.
I tried to look through history and precedent, and the best precedent I could find was the election of 1876. 1876 was between Rutherford B. Hayes and Samuel Tilden. And what happened there were serious allegations of voter fraud, and Congress didn't throw its hands up and say, you know what? CNN demanded that I accept the results no matter what, so ignore the fraud. I got to go. But hold on. What did Congress do in 1876? What did Congress do in 1876?
How did the president handle it?
What did Congress do in 1876?
Senator, you can't answer yes or no to this question.
I'm asking a question. What did Congress do in 1876?
You can't answer yes or no to this question. And Republicans,
can you answer my question? Why are you refusing to answer my question?
I'm conducting the interview with all due respect, Senator. And let me ask you, it's Republicans have twisted themselves in knots. It's just a yes or no question.
I'm not twisting myself. I'm answering your question. You just don't like my answer.
And what's your answer? Is it yes or is it no?
So in 1876, what Congress did is it appointed an election commission. It consisted of 15 people. 5 House members, 5 senators, 5 Supreme Court justices. The Election Commission was charged with studying the evidence and making a determination of what voter fraud occurred, and that determined the winner. And what I called for in 2020 was to do the same thing, appoint an election commission, and 11 senators joined me.
Senator, with all due respect, after it had been thrown out of many courts, after the Attorney General Bill Barr, because there was no basis for those court cases.
No, so that's that.
Here goes the old spiel about how Trump was tried voter fraud in 60 cases and lost them all. What happened is the judges were scared to death of all these cases, if y'all remember, and said there was no standing over technicalities like whether people had the right to contest it because they didn't live in the state. There were so many different convoluted ways that the judges backed out of the proceedings with jurisdictional malarkey. I think they were scared. I think they didn't want to contest it at all. It's a hot topic that the judge could either create or destroy his own career behind, if not get disbarred, knowing that Joe Biden was fixing to be president, no matter how the election things were being election cases were being handled. Majority consensus was that they had to keep everything under wraps, including keeping these cases from getting to the final step of actually proving the fraud and overturning results in even one jurisdiction in one county. Here we go.
That's actually
Senator,
not.
with all due respect,
you asked me a question. Do you want me to answer it?
And you didn't answer the question.
Yes, I did.
Cases were thrown out.
Hold on a second.
The Attorney General said there was no widespread fraud. You're not clearly answering the question. I want to thank you for that. What question am I not?
I'm answering every question. I think the country would have been a lot better off with a determination of what evidence of voter fraud there was that occurred, and instead the media didn't want to hear it and insists voter fraud never occurs. You ought to go back and look at the Carter-Baker Commission.
It was the Attorney General, and my question was
it was the media. It was CNN that relentlessly pushed that propaganda.
And Bill Barr, he refused to hear it.
And by the way,
what
never
propaganda,
holds...
that there was no widespread fraud in the election?
That voter fraud doesn't exist, and anyone who says it does is wearing a tinfoil hat. That is propaganda. And by the way, you never asked Hillary Clinton this. You never asked Stacey Abrams this. You never asked Al Gore this.
With all due respect,
and every one of them said the Republicans who won were illegitimate.
I haven't had any of them on my show. We'll talk to them. But I don't remember there being a president who was refusing to turn over the transition of power and facilitated it.
And Trump didn't either. Joe
My
Biden
question was about 2024. You did not answer.
Let me say a final point
Ted
for you.
Cruz,
You said they haven't come.
Thank you very much,
My
Senator
opponent,
Ted
Colin
Cruz.
Allred, hasn't either. He ought to come to your show.
Senator Ted Cruz.
She cut his ass off, but he let her have it. He wasn't backing down. I like to see Ted Cruz. He's 10 times smarter than this crack shot reporter, hatchet lady for CNN, Trump derangement syndrome, orange man bad, hater, and doesn't want to actually let anybody speak because she's not there to have a conversation with you or hear your side or even debate you. She's there to sell a narrative to her listeners. And if that includes you telling the truth about the way you feel or what you've seen or what you know that doesn't fit their narrative, she ain't trying to hear it. Pretty much the norm on all these stations. But there is one common thread, one common factor I'm seeing more and more lately, is these lefty news commentators are obviously getting marching orders from somebody, probably Central Intelligence, or somebody in the Biden campaign, to put it out there, the question, to the Republicans, to their face, on TV, on video, as to how they're going to handle if Joe Biden wins, and we don't think it's legitimate. It makes me wonder if the fix is already in on some level, and they prep these questions with these people for the particular reason to get feelers out to find out if Trump doesn't win by some freak chance, he may not accept it. We, the people, definitely will not accept it. But the question that the media really, really needs to know is, will the Republican Party accept it? Because if the Republican Party would have not accepted the 2020 results, we wouldn't be in the situation we're in today. That's the difference. Because we, the people, don't matter, but public image, perception does matter. And if the Republican Party is backing Trump, even if the election is run crooked again versus another 4 years of Biden because they stole it again, I think this time the Republicans would not put up with it for a second time. And I think Ted Cruz is one of those people that's going to just let them know, if I see fraud, I'm gonna call it out as fraud. But I think there is a divine purpose, or not so much divine, but a ulterior motive purpose behind the asking this particular question, because I've heard this particular question asked several times, including like by George Stephanopoulos. It's one of his favorite questions is, if Joe Biden wins in 2024, are you going to accept the results? That's actually kind of a trap of a question. Well, it depends on how the election is run. That's would be my particular answer. But it sounds like they're trying to set us up for something, or maybe just like I said, trying to find out if the Republican Party is going to take it on the chin again, or bend over and take it like they did in 2020, and not support Trump or the American people. That's actually a great question to know. If they try to steal this election again, will the Republican Party accept it? Like last time, or will they stand up and say, hell no, we're not doing another 4 years, Joe Biden. We got to stop this shit right now. Find a way. Do the electors thing again, I don't know. But hopefully it won't involve the Capitol being stormed, because that was their way of not dealing with the situation last time. If it happens again, the alternate electors thing, they won't have the insurrection thing to work with, so what would prevent it from happening? I don't know. We'll have to see how it goes, but me personally, I think Trump's going to kick his ass. 2024, Trump, never surrender, folks. Like, subscribe, and share, devoted patriots. Everybody have a great day. Over and out.